welcome to the Traveling Introvert. Today I want to talk about the fact that I travelled for almost half the year last year. I was doing the math. I looked back at my TripIt to figure out how many trips I did and how many days I was travelling, and I realised that it was just under half of the year I spent travelling, or not in my home base. And so I want to talk about a couple of the things that I learned last year while travelling for that amount of time. So one of the things I did last year, which I'd never done before, was crossing a land border. This was between Guatemala and Mexico. It was unexpected. Originally, I was supposed to fly, but there was an earthquake in Guatemala and some other things happened. And because of this, I ended up having to cross the border walking and with a tuk-tuk and with other methods, but I had to cross a land border. That was something I'd never done before, and it was an interesting experience. The other thing I learned last year was it's okay to travel, not with the airline of your choice, but it does make the travel a little bit more stressful, for me anyway, and a little less sure. So for example, when I travel with the airline that I'm used to traveling, I know when to check in, I know like how long the lines are going to be, I know what I can get and what I won't get. When I'm traveling with a different airline, it's not as easy and not as autopiloted, so I have to make more decisions during the day. The other thing I learned, which took me years, is so right now, as of today, Uber is not allowed in Vancouver. And the airport is kind of far away from the city. And so if you have an early morning flight, being able to get from your hotel to Vancouver airport can be a real problem because taxis are not considered to be reliable. So you can order one, but it might not turn up. So my way of working around this, and I can't believe I didn't figure this out earlier, is to look for a hotel that is close to the airport, but has their own shuttle to and from, preferably a 24-hour shuttle, to and from the airport. So I can stay at that hotel. Getting to and from sort of downtown Vancouver is fairly easy because there's a very quick train, but just getting to the airport at 4 a.m. in the morning, make sure that you use either a car service, which will cost you about anywhere between 50 and 70 Canadian dollars, or an airport that has a 24-hour shuttle. So that was something that took me long enough to figure out. Groupon. The other thing I figured out last year was that Groupon USA specifically only accepts US cards. So if you don't have a USA card or a friend that can buy the Groupon for you, you can't use Groupon specials, which is interesting. Not good nor bad, but just sort of interesting. The other thing that I learned was Philly traffic is pretty bad. Didn't realize it at the time, but Philly isn't known necessarily for traffic, but to get from one place to another can take a really long time. One of the other things I learned was traveling around the holidays. I was in Nashville for the holidays, and I had a particular Uber driver who on that day decided to berate people who were not celebrating that particular religious holiday. And so that was a very uncomfortable, let's be honest, ride in an Uber. Hey, Uber drivers, we get you have an opinion. It doesn't mean that you have to berate your passengers. Just saying. And the other thing that I learned was to pick very carefully which speaking gigs I attend. I definitely made some mistakes last year with that, and now I hope to learn from them. They have led to wonderful experiences and knowing different people, but there's just some things now that I've put in place to see if I end up doing these things or not. So those were some of the things I learned in my half year of traveling. I'm sure there was a bunch more, but these were the ones that popped up to mind right away. If there's anything you'd love to know about traveling, or any hints that you think I might love to know, or questions you have about traveling, please email me at janice@thecareerintrovert.com and I will be sure to answer. Thank you for listening. This is Janice at thecareerintrovert.com, helping you move forward with your career and your business in line with your introversion.